Welcome to the Box Score Sports Podcast.
Okay, you ready to move on to your Green Bay Packers, Shannon?
Let's do it.
I'm going to probably throw up a couple times during this part of the podcast. The Green Bay Packers last year finished 9 and 8. They made the playoffs. They almost beat San Francisco. I think it was the second round, right? They lost to the Niners. Yeah. Yeah. So, but they were a very young team, and I think they outperformed expectations last year. My expectations for sure. So let's get into their favorite move. What's your favorite move, Shannon?
Signing Xavier McKinney.
Yeah,
I
that's
felt like
mine too. Yeah,
the best safety free agent out there, and I was just ecstatic when the Packers got him. The other one, obviously, signing Jordan Love to an extension. I think he proved enough. If the Packers weren't going to give him something, some other team would gladly give him money.
well, yeah, they had to. Like, that was the smart choice. You gotta, because of the way he played last year. I had McKinney as well. He's only 24 years old, and he's one of the best safeties in the NFL. He's young. It was a really good signing. I think that this will help bolster their defense. I also like when the Packers go out and get experienced defenders rather than drafting defenders, because that's their MO, is they're really good at drafting like offensive weapons, but they've always had a hard time with the defensive side of the ball. So going out and get someone more proven, I think that'll help their defense, especially as they adjust to this new defensive style that they're going to be playing. What was your least favorite move that they made?
Losing Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
I love Josh Jacobs. And there's always the comparison. Well, Josh Jacobs is 3 years younger, but he still has quite a, he got used quite a bit in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
It just hurt because Aaron Jones was a Packer all the way, and to see him go, it was hard to swallow.
Yeah, I still kind of like, and that's what I had too. Like, I don't know why they couldn't have kept Jones even after signing Jacobs. That's the other part of it, because you would have lost Jones next year anyway, and you would have got what's it called? A pick. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Compensatory. I want to say compensatory pick. So you kind of lost him for nothing. You lost out on $10 million, I think, in dead money on top of it. So, like, for me, I just didn't quite understand. And Jacobs also has the iffy history. He usually has like a good year and then a bad year and a good year and a bad year. Jones is more consistent, you know what I'm saying? So, like, it would have been kind of nice to have both those guys. And I'm not a big AJ Dillon fan. Like, I think like he seems slower and slower every year. I think last year he had a little bit of a bounce back, but 2 years ago it was rough. So I would have rather them stuck with Jones and Jacobs rather than keeping Dillon, but they went with Dillon and Jacobs, and I agree. And him being a Packer too for all those years, you would think that they would want to try to keep him around as long as possible. But anyway, yeah, I agree with you. I'd rather have Jones still on the team as well.
Yeah, my other least favorite move was not bringing in some kind of like Ryan Tannehill for a backup QB. Because Jordan Love's obviously going to be the starter, but they just have two guys behind them that don't seem like, at least in preseason, don't seem like they could win you a game if you needed to.
Who's their backup right now?
Sean Clifford out of Penn State. They drafted in the 5th round last year. And then they have Michael Pratt out of Tulane that they drafted in the 7th round this year.
Okay.
That's all they have in camp.
Okay. Ryan Tannehill, is he on a different team? He's on the
Still a free agent.
Oh, wow. Really? That's crazy. That's why that didn't sound familiar. Well, maybe there's time to bring him in. That's crazy to me. That's a good one. Especially when your aspirations to playoffs and your quarterback can get injured for 3 games, those 3 games can make a world of difference of getting the playoffs, especially in, AFC more than the NFC. But in no matter what, the NFL is always close. Parity is the king of the NFL. So, biggest green flag.
Jeff Hafley's the new defensive coordinator. To me, that's a green flag because I felt like Joe Barry the last few years kind of held the defense back, and that's kind of why I think that I had Green Bay as the #1 defense this year, even though it's a different guy. They hired him for the person he is and not the scheme that he would bring. And just from what I've seen and heard from some of the reporting is that the defense loves him. Guys like Jair Alexander have bought in, and his defense is a lot simpler. You don't have to think as much, and I just have a feeling it's going to be a world of difference.
Yeah. So I'll just remind you, this is the same off-season report that told you that MVS was going to be the best #1 receiver of Aaron Rodgers' life for all those years. But it's not that. I just think off-season is always going to fluff things up. We got to be very careful. But with that in mind, I 100% agree with you. Different defensive coordinator. They had to move on from Joe Barry. Everything about this Jeff guy seems, interesting enough, but they just needed to change at that position nonetheless. Like, we know what Joe Barry's defense is, and we know what it isn't. And the defense, you're absolutely right. There was, I think, a year or two where the special teams held them back more so than the defense, but the defense has always been sort of like a thorn in the side of Green Bay, like that wouldn't help them get over the hump. So moving on and getting a different defensive coordinator is, I think, going to be huge for them this year as well. That's why I moved them up to second. Otherwise, I probably would have had them fourth if they had Joe Barry back again.
That's crazy. Make someone like Baker Mayfield look like a Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, correct, exactly. What's your biggest red flag for the Packers?
It's a no-brainer. It's kicker.
That's fair.
They still don't know who their kicker is going to be this year. They have literally brought in so many kickers this offseason. It's been just a turnstile of different guys coming and going. And they're down to 2 guys. Daniel Carlson's brother, Anders Carlson, they drafted last year. And then they brought in Greg Joseph. He was the kicker for Minnesota a while back, and neither one of them are doing very good.
Well, that's a big one because, games are won by field goals all the time, extra points missed, all that stuff. That's a good one. So and this is very much nitpicking, obviously, because I didn't think they did a whole lot bad this offseason. So just it's both a pro and a con for me. The defense being unknown, that's always kind of like, I'm always a little worried about, because he hasn't coached NFL. Just because you're good in college doesn't mean you'll bring that to the NFL. There's countless examples. So that's a little bit, and just now there's quote unquote tape out, right? The whole season of what Jordan Love's capable of, what that offense really wants to look like under Matt LaFleur. So now we'll see if defenses respond to it, and then how they adjust to that response to their offense. So two nitpicks kind of thing. I don't think that this is not something that they can't overcome, but if I had to pick red flags, those 2 would kind of be it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else for red flags?
No, I just think kicker is the big thing, because if you would have made a kick in that divisional round, I think the Packers play the Lions in the conference championship.
You're probably right. If the Lions would have kicked a field goal in the conference championship, I mean, they probably would have went to the Super Bowl. Anyway, let's go on to the fantasy football go-to. Who do you have for that?
Jordan Love.
Okay.
Just there's no Justin Jefferson on the team, but there's a lot of good wide receivers. They're probably 5 or 6 deep at wide receiver, and what's going to benefit from it is the quarterback. So to me, I think he's good value.
Yeah. I have Musgrave actually here. I'm not down on Musgrave. I don't think he's Laporta, but like, I think he's going to be good. So you can get him for pretty cheap, and if you miss on one of the tight ends that are being taken early, you can wait and get someone like him and probably be pretty happy with that pick. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I like it.
You got any other?
No,
fantasy?
I think just Jordan Love. I'm a big Dontavian Wicks fan. If I was going to get, it'd be a number 13.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. So if you picked one of the Packers receiver, it would be Wicks. Okay, one more question. I'll allow you, just for this one topic, any defensive players that you would snatch up on Green Bay for your IDP league?
I was always a big Keyshawn Nixon fan.
Okay.
because he plays the slot, and that's where most of your tackles come from. And he also, like, if your league scores return yards, that's huge because return yards add up fast, and so he was always my target.
Okay, nice. I like it. Okay, prediction for the Packers.
I have them at, this might be a little biased, I have them at 12-5.
Ooh, I have 10-7. Yeah, two games off, but yeah, that would be pretty good for the Packers after getting rid of Aaron Rodgers 2 years ago, back to 12-5. We'll have to see about that. I should be writing these down. Hold on, Shannon. Everybody, I know this is awesome podcasting, but I'm gonna write down Shannon's predictions. You had the Bears at 7-10 again?
Yep. Yeah, I might be drinking a little bit of too much off-season Kool-Aid, but it's a pretty bold.
Normally fans do. I don't blame you, okay? Like, remember last year? I don't know if you remember last year. I tried to get him on this year, Casey, the Bears fan, and he predicted that they would make the wild card last year. It's just what we do on the off season. We get super excited about our team, so I'm not going to sit there and disparage you for that. I try to be cool down the situation for everybody, but it doesn't always work. And sometimes I'm wrong, because last year I was really down on the Packers. I thought they would be like 6-11, and they ended up making the playoffs. So, okay, you ready to move on?
I'm ready. Yeah.
Okay, let's. Thanks so much for watching this clip of the Box Score Sports Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter or X. And we'll talk to you guys real soon. See ya.